Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Colby from Sanitarian Productions. We're back again with another awesome G.I. Joe action figure review. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the 2017 convention exclusive Vector X-36 fighter jet. So this is part of the Battle Force 2000 special thing. Which they did kind of rebrand into Force of Battle 2000, as you can see at the top of the box here. I guess they got some copyright things they were trying to get around, so they couldn't use Battle Force 2000 anymore, so they just flipped it a little bit, and that's kind of what they ended up with. But regardless of that, we get this cool jet. Comes on kind of a sort of plain looking box this time. It's very much reminiscent of the actual blueprints themselves. I don't really know why they chose to do it that way, but that's kind of what we got. It still looks pretty cool in the box, and as you can see, it's a fairly large box here. Flipping over to the side, we lose the light, so you can't actually see that. Sorry, but it's kind of just got the basic G.I. Joe Club branding stuff on it. The other side's pretty much the same thing, kind of all around. Again, it's very kind of basic packaging, and the back of it is just plain white. So that's kind of what we got anyways. Let's go ahead and tear into this thing though. As you can see, it is a big box, and this is as far up as my camera goes right now, so you just have to bear with me while I figure this out. But we'll do the best we can here and try to keep it all on camera as much as possible. As far as the opening goes, on the side, you do have these little flap things here, and it's got a little piece of tape on it. So we're just going to go ahead and use our handy X-Acto knife here and just cut that tape real quick. And then in theory, this little tab piece will just pop off like so. And this flap just opens up like so. And we'll just drag everything out here and kind of dump it on the table and go from there. It's in here pretty good. So whatever they've done here, and it may be the fact that this little corner is dinged up a little bit, so see if we can get around that. Not coming out nearly as smoothly as I'd hoped, but we'll just keep pulling, and there we go. There's a part of it, and the rest in here. And that's everything that's in the box. So cool. Set that back over here to the side. So we have just some packaging material here, more cardboard, some of this in the plane, and more cardboard. And that's pretty much what we got. So not a lot of stuff here. We've got the little wingy thing here, the engines and a couple of little fins, the larger fin, a package of missiles, and the actual main body here. So as you can see, we don't get any stickers, we don't get any instruction sheets, we get nothing like that. Most of what they've done with these convention exclusive vehicles have followed this kind of pattern. Most of the stickers are already pre-applied. Well, in this case, all of them are pre-applied, so we don't get to play with any of them ourselves. But that does make it so that it looks really good coming out of the package. So, where do we want to start here? Let's just go ahead and unbox this thing, or unbag it, as it's the largest bit, and then we can kind of zoom in a little bit and see where we go from there. The main body here has a little piece of tape holding it together. We'll just go ahead and cut that off. Slide that right out. And then we'll throw that away. And then we've got this piece that's already out of the box. We have this tail fin thing here that also has a piece of tape on it. And there's actually the two of them in there. It's a pair. Then we've got this smaller accessory kit. We've got the actual engine exhaust bits and two of these smaller fins. And the only other accessory bag we have are the missiles. So we'll dump those out here. We've got two of these larger missiles and four of these smaller ones. I say smaller, they're still fairly large sized. So very cool looking. That's all the bits that come with it, so let's take a look and see how this thing is supposed to go together. Looking at the actual body here, we've got some basic stuff here on the back and not a whole lot of anything else here, so really not a whole lot here to assemble. Let's see, I guess we'll start here with the engine cover. Looking at the rear end of the actual jet, this is the bottom of the jet here. You can see there's a couple of little tabby things here, and there's a little V groove right here. So we just take this green engine cover, line up that V groove with this little V groove here, and just kind of slap it in here. And get those little tab things to line up. So if you kind of tilt it, and let's see if I can pull one of these lights up a little bit more. Inside here on this black piece here, you can just barely make out there's some little indentations there on the underside. You'll actually line up these green tabs with that. So tilt it up away from the bottom here, and to just slide those two in place. Kind of jiggle it a little bit to get it to kind of fit in there, and then just kind of tilt back on it, and it should snap in place like that. Pretty straightforward. Makes a whole lot more sense when you see it in person, but that's how that works. While we're on the bottom side, we're just going to go ahead and take this piece here, this weird wingy thing, and it will go over top of this. And let's see here. So if we're looking at it with the nose cone to our left, on the actual piece itself here, you've got kind of this flanged piece, and then the wings kind of flow back to our right. We'll take these things, and so we've got these little bitty tab things at the front of this thing. We're just going to basically line those up and stick them in first, and then just press down on this. And actually, no, we're going to do it the other way, I guess. Well, let's try the original approach here. Yeah, so stick the little things in the back side underneath this green engine thing first, and then these things should just press down and lock into place. Let's hope. It's a good snap, not a bad snap, so that just kind of locks in like that. And that's pretty much it for the bottom of it. Flip it back over to the top. We have the wing things, the little, these things. There's two of them. You can tell by the writing which side is which, so you'll want the writing facing away from the center of the vehicle. So we're just going to take and line these up as best we can. On the actual fin thing itself, there are a couple little tabs here. So we're just going to kind of line those up with these little indentations. And it does kind of lean out a bit. And then just kind of press it in place. Hopefully it'll just snap in there. And that seems to go in there. I was actually expecting a sound there, but didn't hear anything, so I guess that's okay. Then we'll take the other side and do the same thing to it. Just kind of line these things up with that little groove and press them into place. And that one went in a lot smoother. So I'm going to try to redo this side here by pushing it pretty much all the way to the front here and lining that up first. And then snapping it in. Anyways, there we go. And then we've got these two smaller fins. They should go here towards the front. So find the orangey yellow cockpit thing and line them up. And you'll see on the edges here we've got a tab opening. So we're just going to line those up. I don't know, which way does this go? Can't go like that, so it has to go like this. I guess it could go like this, but that looks weird. Flip it over to the side and just kind of press in on it, and it should latch in. It's being a little aggravating here. There we go. It locks in pretty well. We'll do the same thing to the other side. This is where instructions come in a lot better, because when you're shooting in the dark here, it's kind of hard to figure out what it is you're supposed to do. And I haven't touched one of these Conquest bodies in a long time, so honestly don't remember what the actual instructions say to do. So we're just kind of making it up as we go along here. This thing is a little bit tight. There we go. It finally started. Put a little pressure on it and it snaps in there pretty easily at that point. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. The only other thing we got to do is to attach these missiles. So what I'm going to do is take the two large missiles and put one on either side closest to the wheel wells here. So just line, so they all have the standard barbell shaped little attachment point on them. So we'll just line those up and just press that together, kind of wiggle it back and forth till it slides down over top there. It actually stays in place really well. Same thing on the other side, just wiggle it back and forth. And then we'll take the other smaller missiles and do the same thing, just line them up with these little missile holders and just kind of wiggle them back and forth until they lock into place. Flip it over to the other side and do the same thing for the other wings. And there we go. We've got all our missiles attached. And the actual jet itself is ready to go here. I'll readjust this light for us. So that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot going on with this thing. On the bottom side, we do have the landing gear. So we'll start with the one on the front here. You just kind of pick up and this just folds out. Spins pretty freely. It is made of the hard plastic, so they're not like rubber tires. The back end also just folds up and just switches back like that. And they are also that kind of hard plastic, but they roll pretty easily. So then you can kind of set it up and it sits kind of weirdly. I guess technically these things are supposed to fold out, actually. That's why. So these actually just do this kind of weird wishbone thing. And they're on this weird little gear system here, which makes it really nice to get it to line up correctly, and they're even. So that's good. And then that sits a whole lot more smooth there. So there you go. That's pretty much it for the actual vehicle. Let's take a look at some of the detail work on this thing. It is based off the original Conquest jet, so it's got the same body style, the same feature set, same mold design and everything like that. They have pre-applied some of these stickers here, so they're actual painted decals instead of stickers themselves. The difference being, I think this Rescue is a sticker. No, I actually think that's painted on there as well. So none of these are stickers. That's pretty crazy. Anyways, some nice detail work going on here. I do like the color scheme a lot. On the back end here, we've got this little engine cover thing. If you can pop off and look inside there, and we'll zoom in real quick here and take a look at that. So we got some nice detail work there for the actual engine. Pretty cool. And then to pop that back on there, you just kind of line that up and just snap it back in there. Moving on down to the back end, we have another little engine compartment cover. So take your fingers and basically go underneath these two little sticky things that pop out and then just pull up on it. Trying to do this so y'all can see at the same time, and it's doesn't make it easy here. And this thing is actually a little harder to get off than I thought. So I'm looking around to see if I got something I can use to pry that off with without damaging anything. My first thought is to grab my knife, but that's probably not a good idea. Yeah, that's not coming off easily. That's pretty crazy there. Shouldn't be that difficult to come out, but it is. So we're just going to kind of pry on it a little bit. I don't recommend you do this too often, prying on things like this. But since I'm doing the video, I can do that, and hopefully y'all don't have to. If you have something like a plastic screwdriver thing for like taking apart cell phones or anything like that, that would actually be the ideal tool to use here. But I don't have one of those handy. So we're going to do this the bad way and just pop our knife underneath here. Don't like that at all. We're going to scratch this thing onto pieces if we aren't careful. Yeah, this thing is just actually not going to come off, so probably better off leaving it alone. There we go. One of the little tabs popped up on us. And the other tab. That is pretty crazy there. So now that we have that off, we can take a look in here and see that their actual details on these engine things looks really nice. But this thing is a pain in the butt to get off. So once you get it off, snap it back on there and you should be fine. But that first time getting it off is stupidly excessive. So other than that, there's really not a whole lot of parts to look at here. We haven't looked at the cockpit though, so we just kind of open this thing up. And the engine, the cockpit itself looks pretty nice. They've got some decent detail work in there, not a whole lot going on. Size-wise, we've got our handy-dandy beachhead figure from the 25th anniversary line. Just stick him in here in the cockpit. Fits in there really nicely. Cockpit lowers down. He's not bumping his head or anything like that, which is really good. That doesn't usually happen, but looks really good in there. So it should be fine for any 25th anniversary figure you got. 25th and up. And he comes right out of there pretty easily. So yeah, that's basically the Conquest. Vector X-36 fighter jet. This was meant to be a new updated version of the Battle Force 2000 jet of the same line. They took some liberties with the design because obviously they couldn't reproduce the original jet that had this cool little bubble thing back here on the back, and you could take those pieces and put it together and form this really awesome tank monstrosity thing. So you basically collected all of the vehicles out of the Battle Force 2000 set, and they kind of fit all together to make one massive vehicle, which was a really cool concept. It's basically the collect and connect kind of thing for the G.I. Joe vehicles, which hadn't really been done before that, so that was really cool. But so instead we kind of just got an updated version of the Conquest, and it actually does look really nice. It fits in well with the overall color scheme they had going on with the Battle Force 2000 unit, and it turned out really nice here. These things were a little bit overpriced, and you can kind of see why that probably is the case here. There's really not a whole lot going on here, so these things didn't exactly fly off the shelves. Not much of a pun there intended, but so you can still kind of get them pretty easily. It was, again, a 2017 convention exclusive from the G.I. Joe Club itself, so there's a little bit of scarcity with these things going on. There were only a limited number of them produced. I don't know the actual number, but it looks really nice. I actually really do like the color scheme on it. It looks really clean and really awesome, to be honest with you. So for recommendation wise, it's a really nice piece to have and to kind of put on the shelf with everything else. I don't know that I would go too far out of my way to pick it up because it is kind of a little limited on what it does, at least for my taste. So if you can go back and find the original Conquest, you're probably better off. But I do really like the new color scheme they got going on here. So for that, it does get a little bit extra bonus point for me. So price-wise, as of 2018, towards the November-ish time frame when I was recording this, these things are going for around the $100 mark. You can usually get them a little cheaper than that, so I would actually recommend, just waiting, biding your time, and find one under 80 if you can, and you'll not be disappointed with it. That's still kind of a lot considering this thing kind of retailed back in the 25th anniversary line around the $30 mark, if I remember correctly. So at that price, it's a steal. For the $100 range, yeah, it's probably a pass. But again, cool color scheme. It's a kind of a unique version here. So yeah, it's pretty cool. That's all the time we've got for today, so thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Drop some comments down below and let us know what you think about this new Vector X-36 fighter jet. Does it live up to the hype of the Battle Force 2000 line expectations, or does it leave you kind of somewhere in the middle here? Do you like the color scheme? Because I do. Anyways, just let us know your thoughts down below, and until next time, Yo Joe!